And we're live.
So I wanted to ask you this.
Wait,
so David Blaine has this really specific. He's got his own style, right? Like he does a lot of performance stuff. There's some camera stuff that adds to trickery, but then there's the things that he's doing that are just real. You know that you know when he stands in the block of ice, like he's really in that goddamn block of ice. You know, like there's no fucking like magic there. The breath. Have you seen his TED talk about when he held his breath for, I believe, 17 minutes?
Yes, I have. Yeah, and that was totally real. That
is totally fucking real. And I've said it before. I'll say it again. My favorite TED talk is David Blaine explaining how he came up with the idea, went through the genesis of finding ways to fake it, ways to cheat it, and then finally came upon ways to do it, because there are those deep sea divers who do those crazy they stand on their head and do these breathing exercises to hyper oxygenate their blood. They learn to slow down their metabolism, their heart rate, slow down their body functions. But then in the end, and I swear to God, watch this thing. It made me cry. It made me cry listening to David Blaine talk about how bad he wanted this. And at the end, the part that really touched me was that people said it was fake. And after hearing him explain everything that he did, and the pain and the torture and the anguish and the multiple year journey that it was for him to accomplish this feat, to then be called fake, and to like it hurt me. Like it made me feel so bad for him.
I thought it was fake until you told me, because he did too well. Like 17 minutes. That's, if you told me, hey, someone held their breath for 17 minutes, it's in the Guinness World Book of Records, I'd be like, oh, there's some chicanery going on. That's ridiculous. Like you can't do that for more than like 10 minutes. No way.
That's the thing that got me too.
Like the common thought.
David Blaine's not just a normal person.
That long.
If you told me that, hey, the person who's best on earth at holding their breath just also happens to be a bit of a trickster.
He didn't break the world record as far as I know.
I had it in my head that he did.
Yeah, so what's interesting...
But even so, just if you said, hey, there's a guy who's a bit of a trickster, says he can hold his breath for 17 minutes, I'd be like, oh, probably a trick. Like he does tricks for a living. He's the least credible person for something like that there could be.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, but it's interesting because there are different thoughts on what magic should be. And so if you listen to like Penn Jillette, like from Penn and Teller, he'll talk about how in his show, he really likes the idea of making it so that it's a celebration of life, and how they're not really in danger. In any of the stunts that they do, there's no danger going on. It's a celebration of the fact that you know going into it that everyone's safe and that it's going to work out right. And then you get to have that feeling of uncertainty, where those lines of disbelief and reality start to fall away. But you know, even at the beginning and at the end, that what was done was fake, and they tell you that. And that's why my thoughts on escape artists are really interesting, because an escape artist, they'll have a show at 12 o'clock and then a show at 2 p.m. I mean, they survived the show at 12. So, I mean, obviously, like, they're going to make it out alive because they've done it hundreds of times. But David Blaine, he'll do real magic, and then he'll also do real stunts, and he'll put them in the same special. And now people that go to his shows really don't know what was magic and what wasn't magic. And so some magicians don't like that idea. Some magicians really think it's a genius idea of kind of doing real stunts and making it so that audiences don't know what's reality, and they feel almost a little bit uncomfortable in that they realize how easy it is to be lied to, how easy it is to be deceived, because they don't know what's actually happening, what's not.
So I don't know what's happening.
Do you like that style a lot of mixing the two?
I mean, I don't really do any stunt style stuff, and I love the idea of people knowing that what I'm doing is fake, because you can get to a point where people start thinking that you have powers and thinking that you can do things that are really, really impossible. And I don't want people to think that. I want people to think that I put a lot of work into making this happen. And I want them to have moments when I'm performing when they think this is absolutely impossible, because it's in their hands. That's the craziest stuff, is when it's in their hands. But the idea of telling people that I can do more I have the ability to do things that are impossible, that kind of, makes me a little uncomfortable, because I don't want anyone asking me for lottery numbers and depending on me,
So the Penn and Teller,
Yeah.
again, this is on the breath holding thing. I don't know if it's real or not. Like, I can't. I'm not. It's not qualified. Kyle watched him and believed his show, the TED Talk. I get that. I watched Penn and Teller, and they said this is a trick. He didn't really hold his breath that long. The hardest part about this stunt, I couldn't do it. He couldn't do it. Is looking good with your shirt off for 17 minutes, and that burned into my head. I was like, yeah, that is hard to do.
I haven't seen Penn and Teller talk about David Blaine's thing. I know that David in his TED Talk talked about how he couldn't do it just by holding his breath. There's a special like substance that's extremely high in oxygen rather, that you have extremely high in alcohol. That wouldn't help.
You just get hammered, sit in a bowl of water. I really fucking hope this works out.
Yeah, you're just blacking out, walking into the tank.
At one point, he was
breathing.
looking into inserting this rebreathing apparatus into his respiratory system, like hoses and some sort of CO2 scrubber fucking in his lung air passageway, so that he's like breathing inside himself, right? He'd be like exhaling into one tube and like breathing the clean air back, like scrubbing CO2 within his own body with an incredibly uncomfortable apparatus. And they show him trying to put this thing down his throat, and it's like it looks like a washing machine hose or something. It's like, dude, this ain't gonna work. You gotta start doing some breathing exercises or something.
Yeah,
I saw it too, Kyle, but I saw it, I think, a long time ago, so I don't have the same memory of it that you do.
He actually messed up on Oprah.
4 years?
I think he talked about in his TED Talk how he did the same thing on Oprah. He was going to try and break the world record, and he blacked out like 16 minutes in, so he didn't make it. But then he did it again. He actually made the 17 minutes, and then he blacked out after, so it counted. But then what happened was someone immediately broke the record again after him.
So he did hold the record briefly.
He had it for, if I remember the TED Talk correctly, he had it for like a day or two. And then
it was like
someone
the King of
in
Kong.
It was like
Ireland
some
or whatever.
lobster diver in Jamaica who's just waiting for him to get a new record, so you can be like,
Not
"Oh, gonna go to
today,
the States
Mom."
and break it again." Yeah, gonna
Who
beat
was
it on a
that,
whim.
Was it a Soviet pole vaulter who like set the world record? I don't remember his nationality, but there was this pole vaulter. He breaks the world record, right, for the highest pole vault. And then every year subsequently, he'd break it by as small an increment as he possibly could, because he got the big bonus for breaking the world record again. So for years, his business is breaking his own world record by an inch. He did it for years and kept taking that, like, oh, new world record. I don't know what the bonus is, 80,000 rubles. All right, $32. This is gonna work. All right.
Dude,